So the other day, Melanie and I decided it was time to clean out our food pantry, and we did that. And one of the things that you do when you clean out your food pantry is you check the dates. Let's see, September 2026. Okay, we're good with that. This one looks like May 2026. So we better get to the macaroni and cheese sooner than we do the mayonnaise. You know, it was funny though, because we go through some of that stuff and you know how things get pushed in the way back, and you take that out and you look at it and you say, 2019, maybe I better get rid of that. You know, those things that we get these things and we put them and they get pushed way back into our pantry or into our medicine chest or something like that. It's always interesting to see how long we keep those things, because we realize that those things have a life date, right? If we don't get to them when we're supposed to, pretty soon they're going to be expired, and it could cause us to get sick or something like that. I really can't figure it all out though. Use by, best if used by, I don't really get it. But you know, in some ways, life is like that too. And I think about how sometimes we get a lot of things backwards. I mean, when it comes to it, we spend a lot of time and energy and money and just effort in general, a lot of times on things that they don't last. I mean, things that are here today and gone tomorrow. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, when I was younger, I know a lot of the things I did was very focused on the temporal things, the things that were not going to last forever. I mean, things like, I would make certain choices of what I would buy or what I would wear so that I would impress my friends. Or, sometimes when I thought about exercising, I did it so that I look good for other people, knowing that eventually as life goes, you're going to fall apart, right? Things like education. A lot of times we think of education merely as doing something so that we can make money. I mean, all of those things are perishable. All those things are not going to last forever. We need them. They help us, but they're not going to last forever. And the Apostle Paul often talks to his churches, especially the church in Corinth, it seemed, about making sure their focus is not on things that are perishable, not on things that are here today and gone tomorrow, but the things that will last forever. There's actually a rather depressing verse, I think, that comes from his second letter, or the second letter that we have to the church in Corinth, where he's speaking to them about how our bodies are temporary, and those things are going to pass away, but faith continues on. And so he kind of sums up what he's saying there with these words. He says, "So we do not lose heart, even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day." There he's trying to talk about this fact that, the faith that he has, the things that matter most, this internal understanding of who God is, who is eternal, that is what's most important. And while our bodies are wasting away, that's the depressing part, these things that are eternal, like God and God sustaining us in eternal life, all of those things are the things that we need to focus on. I got to thinking about this further because I remembered another verse that came from Paul when he was writing that first letter to the church in Corinth. And there's this section. The reason I was thinking about this is because we're now in the period of Olympics, right? The Winter Olympics are going on. And Paul says this, and I think perhaps there must have been some kind of competition going on in Corinth. Some people say there were all these kinds of competitions that people really put a lot of attention and focus on. And maybe that's the example that Paul's using here. But he says this, he goes, "Do you not know that in a race the runners all compete, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win." He goes on, "Athletes exercise self-control in all things. They do it to receive," here's the word, "a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable one. So we do not run aimlessly, nor do we box as if beating the air, but I punish my body and enslave it, so that after proclaiming to others, I myself shall not be disqualified." So he's really talking about two things there. He's talking about how hard people work and how much effort goes into those things that are perishable, and that you need to do those things well. But then later in that other letter to the church in Corinth, he says, but remember, all of those things are going to pass away eventually. The things that last, the things that matter most, the eternal things, those are the things that ultimately we need to be working towards. So for Paul, he would work hard on starting a church and helping that church grow with the hope that it will continue to go on forever. But even if it didn't, he knew that the message of God that lived in people's hearts, that brought them to a place of having that eternal, having that satisfied life of knowing that God was with them, those were the eternal things that eventually we needed to continue to think about. So, as I consider this, and as I consider the fact that we're getting close to things like Valentine's Day, we put a lot of effort into that external love that we have for others. I look at the TV and I watch the athletes compete. They put a lot of energy into winning that race, becoming the best, getting on top of the podium. But ultimately, the thing that matters most is the eternal love that we might have for our God that lasts forever. That eternal love that takes us into that realm of recognizing that we are changing others' lives because of the way we treat them and act for them. Those are the things that are eternal. Those are the things that truly last forever. We compete hard for the things that we know will help us succeed, and yet that too is going to pass away. So Paul's, I think, recommendation to us is make sure in all of those things that you do, and all of those things that ultimately are perishable, make sure that you also have yourself focused on the one eternal thing. That is the God who sustains us in this life and the next.